Welcome students to my lecture number 32, farm machines for interculture operation. Well, it is essential to tell you that so far we have been talking of the preparation, field preparation, and then we talk of the seeding of this, and we have seen different types of seeding equipment which are available, and their operation and their different features, etc. We have talked of their performance and the advanced level which are there developed at our place. Then we have also talked of the testing of some of these equipment, whether it is a tillage equipment or for a weeding for a seeding equipment. Now, the biggest menace which is there in the crop production is weeds, and we will talk of that today. See, we call interculture operation because between the crops, you have seen that the crops are sown, and if you go back to the ancient time when we were talking of sowing of seeds, people were having animal and they never had even the plow. So, earlier they used to throw away the weeds, throw away the seeds, and then whatever seeds and weeds are coming, in fact they would like to try to clean by manually or through other some means of creating one row by which the crop grows. Now, these were the things which were then quite ancient when nothing was there. Slowly people developed a small plows, the wooden frame in which a small steel blade you can say, and that was used behind the animals, and power of animal was used. Now, that in fact that became a multi-purpose tool because that was used for your preparation of the field as well as even for seeding as well as for interculture operation. That means cleaning the weeds. Now, what are these weeds? Supposing in a paddy crop you have weeds, you have a wheat plant. So, I will call that as a weed because I have not sown wheat in paddy. So, I will call that as weed. So, in fact, it is said that unwanted plants in a wanted crop are weeds. So, weeds are those which are not wanted in a particular crop, and in fact, when we go into the details, we do not have wheat grown into paddy or wheat, which I give an example, but what exactly happens is certain types of weeds are there, and those weeds grow because they have affinity with certain crop, and this affinity is, say for example, in paddy one type of weed will come up, in wheat another type of weed will come up in the same field. So, this is very interesting. Now, we would like to remove them. Why? Because they also compete with the crop, with the plants, and take away the nutrients. So, we would like to remove them and clean them so that they do not compete with the plant, and our plant gets the maximum nutrient from the field and it grows. So, that is the job which is known as interculture operation or cleaning of those weeds. So, we will see today what are the different types, what are the different mechanisms, what are the different ways by which we do these operations through the slides. Well, as I said, the interculture operation, removal of unwanted plants or weeds from the field is known as interculture or weeding operation, very commonly known as weeding operation. You must have heard. It has been seen that depending upon the infestation which is there, as low as 300 man hours to as high as 1200 man hours per hectare. This is from literature I am telling you, that so much of man hours are involved for weeding operation. Since it takes about 25 to 30% of the total energy and even the cost involved on the total production of a crop is for weeding itself, and this is a very arduous task. It is very manual intensive, human intensive operation. That is why this menace has to be controlled, and that is why we call control of weeds interculture operations. Remember that it is not possible to totally eradicate the weeds. That is why we always talk of methods for controlling the weeds. That means within the period, because the crop has about 60 to 90 days of crop or 120 days crop. So, within those period we will not allow them to grow at the same pace at which the actual crop is growing. So, we will control their weeds, we will remove them, and then again they will come up, but then again we will remove them in between. So we do about 2 to 3 weedings over the course of the length of the crops growth period, and that is why we are controlling them. So we can't eradicate, but we control, and that is why we call weed control. Now, what are the different methods? Well, one is definitely the most simple and known to everyone is the manual method, that manually I go to the field and see that this is not the right crop which has been grown, so I will take out that plant. So those manual weeding, manually they take out everything. You can have a look at this, that manually these people are you can see that they are manually removing these sitting in a seated posture. And it is very interesting that this particular operation, along with another operation of transplanting, which I have said you in my previous lecture, that these are all dedicated to the ladies. These you can see here. Now with an equipment, of course, you can see here that a man is here, but then with this operation, the arduous one are all left to the ladies. Well, with due respect to everyone then, and with due respect to them, because they have been doing this. And in fact, if you see the statistics today, the number of people in agriculture operations of human, particularly male persons, is decreasing, whereas the participation of female is increasing in this case. So the third one is the second is chemical weeding. Yes, chemically what we can have, those if you can take a selective type of herbicide or a weedicide, the chemicals which are available, and spray that, then the plant will not die, but that particular weed will die, because it is a selective type. It will have taken for that particular weed only, and that is why the selective type of herbicide. So if you take a selective type of herbicide or weedicide or a chemical, that is called chemical weeding. So spraying that will kill these weeds. Those will not be totally removed, but definitely they will again emerge after about 3 to 4 weeks or so, by the time your crop has grown, and so the weeds will be you can say that trumped, the weeds will be virtually removed. Then next is mechanical weeding. Now you see that chemical is one way where while chemical is killing the weeds, but then it is also being deposited in the soil, and it also creates problem for the soil. So we would not like to have more of chemical, and that is why mechanical weeding is informed, where we have the mechanical linkages used for designing the machines and equipment which will be able to do this job. Another way is that biological weeding. Sometimes you can see that some of these, I will tell details slightly later, but then some of the bacteria which is there, which grows. Now if you can use that, because of which these the weeds will be, they will take the weeds, kill these weeds by that particular bacteria. So this is another way of biological controlling of this, which are used in some of the crops here. You will not find this in very widely used, but these are being used in some of the crops, particularly flowers, maybe some of the cash crops, some locations in the world they are being used. Then another is the flame weeding. Of course, I just wanted to mention here, because flame weeding is one where we burn these small weeds which are by the side of the plant itself. Now this, you are burning them, so you can understand that you have to create the flame, etc. So creating the flame and all that. But this was one method which maybe about 50-60 years back some people employed and cleaned these weeds. So because anyway we are controlling them. But then this is no more in vogue and not in vogue at all, and that is why you will only find in the books, but then not in practice nowadays. Now another one is the one which is involving high technology. We are talking of use of more and more technology into the agricultural equipment design, which are going to give us minimum input cost and maximum output. The use of technology is definitely going to reduce this, and this is what we call precision agriculture. So when we talk of precision agriculture, we are talking of using advanced technology, so that the inputs which are giving in the form of machine time, in the form of fuels, in the form of you can say the total use of the whole machine, etc., are reduced. You can say that more and more nutrients are being utilized by the plant, and then we do not have these losses. So, losses are reduced, and we can use as much as required. Suppose we want to give certain amount of nutrient, say fertilizer nutrient for the growth of the crop, then we should be in a position to identify how much is that, and then only we should apply. So, this precision agriculture of late for last 10-12 years or so has taken up, because then we are thinking of economizing on this, maximizing the output and minimizing the input. In that case, the sensor based mechatronic weeding is an equipment which we have developed at IIT Kharagpur, and also some locations people have developed different types. So, we will show you the one which we have developed at IIT Kharagpur also. And now, let us see some details of these in our subsequent slides. See, weeding operations, you can see here that how the different weeding operations are on the basis of power source. Well, we say that how do you classify them? All human being is involved, but how do you classify them? Now, you can see at each location that human being is involved. Here the animal is there, human being is there. Here machine is there, tractor is there, but human being are also there. Here also there is a machine, but human being is there. Now, this is one which we are talking of mechatronics, which will be discussed later. But then you can see here, this is a small machine which has been used. This is another small machine in lowland condition, and these are the particular ladies which, in fact, this is a device which has been given to them, and they are operating here. Otherwise, this was to be done in a stooping posture, and all in this cutting posture, they were trying to remove this. So, you can understand the total output per day will be very, very less, and it's very strenuous job. So, on the basis of power source, manual weeding tools are graded, then animal drawn weeding tools, then power tiller drawn, those which are power tiller drawn, you can say here, then tractor operated weeding tools, you can see the tractor operated ones here, power tiller operated ones here, small machine operated ones here. On the basis of the soil condition, what is the condition? Dry land condition or wetland? See, particularly for wetland, we are talking with respect to paddy production. So, we have this. So, in paddy, you can see that weeds are there, and that is very, very arduous, because the manual, when we are talking of the ladies, these ladies have to stand in that water and then remove each and every weed like this. Otherwise, the yield will be reduced, and that is why the lowland weeding. So, for lowland, we are talking with respect to the paddy and the dry land. Different types of dry land weeders are available. These are some of the types which are shown over here. Then, on the basis of the weeding pattern, now as let me tell you that the total weeds which are available in a particular crop, they are all over the whole crop along with the actual crop. Now, but if you go into the rows in which the crop has been grown, you will find that you are finding them in between the rows as well as between the row itself. That means plant to plant, in between the rows and in the row itself. In the row itself is known as intra-row weeding. So, intra-row means in one row there will be one plant here, another plant there, third plant like this. So, in between there will be weeds. Now, it has been found that 80% of the weeds, 75 to 80% of the weeds are there in between the rows, and about 15 to 20% are there, or 25% are available in the intra rows. Now, in order to have a trade off between the yield loss and how much are there in this, we do not, particularly the different methods, do not employ for weeding in the intra row weeds. But then as I told you that there are methods by which we can also do inter-row weeding as well as intra-row weeding and inter-row weeding tools. So, this is the one which we have developed, which is here, which will show you in different lecture altogether. But these are the different types of the conditions in which these are operated, and you can see that animal being also used here. So, these are the different types of equipment, and these are the ones which are used all over the country, and even in all countries you will find these. The more advanced countries you will find most of the tractor drawn units, but in Asian countries and other countries where there are small fields etc., then we would like to get all these which will be available. These are the tools. What are these manual tools? It is worth, as an engineer, you must have a look at it, since you are, whether if you are a PG student, you must have seen at UG. If you are a UG student, this is first for you, and those who are working in industries and other places, it is worth having to know the different types of these tools. Many of the industries, mechanical engineers are working, even sometimes electronics engineers are also working in some of the tractor industries. So, for them I can tell you that for them this is a new information, they have not seen these tools. So, they worth showing them what are these. In fact, all the manual operations. What we want to emphasize here is that the capacity is very less. The capacity of these is less because they are manually powered. That means human being power is used for this. So, let us have a look at this. You can see here that hand hoe, these are the ones which are used. So, these are the this is the handle, and these are the place where it is cut, and this is the place where it is cut. This is a spade. Now, this is one of the most you can say that's robust and very all rounder, you can say, device which is used for various operations. You will find this for weeding, you will find this for even preparing the field, you will find this for preparing burns, and so much. So, most dynamic you can say this device. Then the push pull weeders. There are some of the devices which have been developed in order to change the posture. As I said, that this is a very arduous and drudgery involved operation, because you have seen that either the ladies were bent or in a squatted posture in one of the photographs. So, in order that you have a standing posture, because from ergonomics point of view we know that if you have a standing posture, you can do the work better and for a longer duration of time. That means the output will be more. So, some devices have been developed, some about 30 years back. We have also developed at IIT Kharagpur and other locations. Now, we would like to show you those. This is a single blade here, this is a 3-tine blade here, this is also a 4-tine blade here. Different types of these arrangements have been done by different designers. But everybody's aim is to see that it fits the requirement of the person, or the ladies or the gents, whoever is operating this. These devices are known as push pull. That means you cannot keep pulling, but they push short distances and pull. We will show you what is the mechanics behind this in the next maybe lecture, but then here I want to say you that these are known as push pull weeders. Either it is in the lowland or in the upland, both conditions they are known. And of course, the capacity of the manual ones are over here. Here the capacity has slightly increased in this case, and these are very light ones, about 10 to 12 kg or so. And the material of construction of these are in fact very local materials, where some sort of a heating is given to strengthen these materials. We do not use very sophisticated materials are used for this, but then still they have been very widely used for last 50 years or so. So, worth having an information about what they are and where they are used. Conoweeder. Well, this is a device which is generally used for lowland conditions, because particularly for paddy. So, you will see that for paddy we use this thing, and since this is also a push pull type of device, but then it has the two different types of cutters, or the cutting element which is there. Now, you can see the cutting element. You can see here that this is one cutting element, this is another cutting element. There are two cones, and they are in fact just opposite to each other, these cones, and there are sharp edges on that, those sharp edges, so that when they move, when you move to and fro, then they entangle the weeds, and those weeds are uprooted from there. And once they are uprooted and they are floating by the sun, they will simply burn and then they will go away. So, this is how this operates in the field condition. Maybe we will show you the operation of this, and the capacity is also slightly higher, because we are operating in a standing posture. Here there are arrangements by which you can change the height of this crop, because a person can hold at certain location, a taller person will hold at a different location. So, there are arrangements made in this design, so that he can adjust to his way and then he can operate the device. Now, let us see how it operates. Yes, you have a look at it, you can see how it is operated, push and pull. This is the way it is push and pull in the actual crop condition. This is how it is operated. Now this is done by a male person, which is being shown to you here, and it can be done by anybody, a male or a female person, but then this is how it is operated in the field. It is worth showing you here. This keeps on going on, in fact. Well, animal drawn weeding tools. Now, see, once you go to this, now we will tell you some more details about these when we have animal drawn weed. So, the annual number of sweep cultivators you can see here, that 3 to 5, you can have 2 to 3 in between, and then we have you see that in the mouth of these animal, they are closed, otherwise they will eat the crops. That is done here. And labor saving is about 80% as per the hand hoe, or by manually when you do, about 80% of saving is done here. In power tiller and self propelled weeding tools. Now, power tiller is used, power tiller or small powered machines are used like this, whereas where it is possible and smaller, in fact the rows are wider, then it is easy to use. Here the field capacity is you can say very high field capacity, you are getting 0.2 hectare per hour, and field efficiency about 60%. Well, you can see here that the field efficiency of these machines do not go about more than 60-70% at the max, and for particularly weeding in this case. There are many losses in that, and there are first one is that we do not do between the intra row, between the rows. We do between the rows, but we do not do in the rows. So, in the rows we are losing. So, that is why we can't say that the field efficiency is more than 90% or so, because some of the weeds are left. And when it is done, in fact, a quadrant is used, about 1 meter by 1 meter or 0.5 meter by 5 meter size, something like this. This is a quadrant here, either 1 meter by 1 meter or this, and this is thrown into the crop at one time, and counted, the number of weeds are counted, and later on when the weeding operation is over, we count them. So, you will find that some of these which are between in the rows, they are left, and that is why you do not get more than 60, sometimes 70% or so at the maximum value. But then these some of these devices, the self propelled weeding tools, etc., they save a lot of man hours per hectare. You can see that this much compared to a hoe, it is saving. So, we have to use some of these, because as I have told in my previous lectures, that the people available in the agriculture are diminishing here, and that is why you have to go to the technology, and hence you go to the equipment. So, we will have to use these small tools and devices for this particular operation. Now, these are the tractor drawn units. Well, tractor drawn units, various types of tractor drawn units have been used by different locations, and you can see that what are their names, etc. You can see row crop cultivator. See between the rows how this tractor drawn unit is going, and it is cleaning this very nicely. It is earthing up, doing earthing up, because you create some sort of a, when you do this cleaning of the weeds, you also create remove the hard crust after 3 weeks of operation. Generally, this weeding, mechanical weeding, or this weeding is done after 3 weeks of the sowing of the seeds. We call the 3 weeks 21 days after sowing, which is done. So, generally a crust is created, and that crust is to be removed. So, the plant starts breathing, and that is why the first you can see that these operations by lister cultivator, you can see that by lister cultivator here, this is lister 1 is used, and then you are in a position to clean this. This is a rotary weeder, rotary weeders are used 3 row. You can see how this is used in a black soil. So, you can see this that these machines are available which are faster, and then they are giving us better output, etc. You can see that field capacity is here. The weeding efficiency has increased here because in a position to do more, and of course, a lot of labor saving and cost of operation. You can see about 75% as compared to traditional method. How much is the cost saving? This we have to see here. Field capacity is also higher here and also higher here. So, we can see that as we are going towards mechanization and higher machines, we are in a position to save lot of labor as well as cost. We are not displacing the labor. Please understand here that we are not talking of displacing the labor. What we are talking is, we are talking of how to use the technology so that we can do the jobs in faster duration of time, and then we should be in a position to take more and more crops from the same plot. So, that cropping intensity is higher and the output is higher, and that is the main aim. So, no question of by mechanization, we are in fact trying to create more and more job opportunities. There could be several aspects of job opportunities which are there and which will be there if the equipment and machines are being used more and more into agriculture. Of course, this requires a different change in the mentality and mindset of the farmers as well, because the farmers particularly in our country, in India, here 60% of the people are small land holdings. So, they need to come together, at least small groups can come together, so that instead of 1 hectare, if 5 farmers come together, there will be a 5 hectare crop, 5 hectare field, and there the machines can be used. It will be economic to use that, or in a custom hiring basis these machines can be utilized. So, a mindset has to change, but then this is the necessity of the country, and it has to be done in order to produce more and more to feed lot of people, growing population of the world. Biological weeding, as I said here, biological weeding actually it is worth telling you, but not very much followed in this country and all that. But then this biological is what exactly is doing. See, we have talked about the pest and the weeds, etc., what they are, but then how you do it. See, in nature, plants are controlled biologically by naturally occurring organisms. Yes, this is very important. So, when there is a deficit of those, the natural cycle may be interrupted when a plant is introduced into a new environment. This is the thing which happens, that and or when humans disrupt the ecology of the system. Well, when this happens, we have to be careful about that, and thereby so we purposefully introduce biological control agents which are attempting to restore or enhance nature systems. So, we can see that by by humans, or by when you are introducing plants at different locations, you are creating an imbalance into the nature's ecosystem. So, for that you have to bring those, because then here you see the control biologically. You can see the plants are in nature, plants are controlled biologically. So, whenever there is a disturbance here, you need to see that that is taken care of, and therefore, we need to use biological weed control where the living organisms such as insects, nematodes, bacteria or fungi to reduce the weed population. So, this is what exactly you have to do, because the ecosystem is getting disturbed when you do this or when human beings are involved, and since they are doing, we need to introduce, and you have seen that some of these ones which are shown here in University of Missouri, Columbia. Now, these are some of the locations where they have used. This is in Canada, some of the types which have been used here. These systems are being used, and it has a future, but then there are various ways and various trade-off you have to do when you are trying to use such systems. Not very much used in India so much. Well, flame weeding, this is another, I said that flame weeding, although we are trying to burn these weeds which are very close to them, and in order to burn, you see that you will have to have the fuel tank, you will have to have the delivery burner, etc., and then carry some of the short burners which are used for which the smithy people used to use for soldering, etc. Those things were used sometimes, but then it would require a complete system. You can see here what we have shown you here is a complete system. You can see here that so much this has to be created, and you require certain power of these units, the gases which you require. You need a delivery system, you need a control system. That means a complete sort of system has to be created. And now, of course, this system not in vogue, very much in vogue, but for as an information to any person who is in agricultural engineering or who is dealing with the equipment and instruments, etc., he must have an idea that yes, this type of weeding also existed. Well, in the books you may find, but not that. So, in nutshell, we have talked of the weeds, which are the menace, which take a lot of energy and which are manual intensive. So, what are the types, what are the different methodologies to use to remove them? We do not say remove, we say control them. We have discussed this today, and then if you have, we will have the questions, etc. If you have anything, we would like to answer you, and I think we close this first part of this weeding operation here. Thank you very much.